Hey, Lloyd here. Now, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I've made over $1.2 million in art sales in the past 5 years. That thing there proves it. And today I want to talk about why a untalented artist with less years experience can make 10 times the income an artist who has been working 40 years with degrees, qualifications, and a lot more talent. Why the former artist can make more money than the latter artist. And it doesn't come down to talent. It doesn't come down to your skills as an artist. It really comes down to business. And I just want to talk to the word business because artists that I speak to day in, day out, they are scared about referring to themselves as business owners. But you've got to put into context, and you've got to realize that if you are wanting to sell your art, right? If you want to sell, right, there's a word there, sell your art, that in itself is commerce. You are exchanging something for money. That, by default, is business. Now, if you can overcome that and realize that you are not just an artist, you are a business owner, then everything else starts to fall into place. That is why I, a non-talented artist, I create abstract art. I create art, and I get these comments all the time for my art. It's like, oh, my 5-year-old daughter could create that. And then I get comments from artists saying, your work is dog shit. Your art is terrible. I was like, that's fine. You can say what you want, but I'm selling my art for $1,000 to $7,000 a piece. So it doesn't really matter what you think. It doesn't matter what we think. The reality of the situation is that I'm approaching this as a business owner. I'm thinking, who is my target market? What they're looking for? How can I increase the value of what I'm presenting to them? Because at the end of the day, when you're creating art, it's not just art they're receiving an experience. They're receiving message, meaning, and story. How can you position your art in a way that the individual doesn't just like the look of it, they actually like what it connects to in their life? And how can you price it in a way that also shows the value? So if I rock up to someone who I know for a fact is high net worth individual, and I say, yeah, you can buy a piece of my art, it's $100. They're going to look at me and like, nah, I spend that on a round of drinks for me and my wife, for example. Whereas if I say it's $5,000, then they're like, okay, cool, there's some value in that. Okay, reverse that. If you are going to your friends and family and you're saying, yeah, my paintings are $10,000, they're obviously going to be like, well, we can't afford that. That's where you talk about structure of pricing and offers. So, okay, well, maybe you can't afford my art. That's fine. My originals are this price. But what I can do for you is I can get a print done for you. I can get it framed, and that's going to be $500. How does that sound? So what we need to do as artists is try and create that line where we are either being the artist or being the business owner. There's the product creation. Every business has product creation. Every business has sales and marketing. It's how it works as a business. So all I'm trying to say in this video is try and consider the different hats you need to wear. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this as an artist. Like there are artists out there who are just passionate artists, and that is completely fine. But if you're watching this video, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that you are looking to want to take that next step, and you're wanting to sell your art. And with that comes responsibility. By selling your art, you are in commerce. You are trying to sell something to a market, to present value to a market in exchange for money. That, by default, is business. So don't be scared of the words business, marketing, sales. You need to embrace them. The artists that embrace them and learn them are the ones who end up coming up on top. It's how I've managed to get to where I am. It's how many of my students have got to where they are. They just have a different mindset, a different frame of thinking. Yes, they'll spend their time creating their art. That's the creative side. But then you have to have the analytical side and the business side of what you do. The reason that galleries exist is so that you can just go and create and let them do all the business. But there's a cost. There's 50% cost there. You could spend 10 hours making a painting and it will go for $5,000. You will technically only get $2,500 for that if the commissions line up in that way. Now, I know that some galleries don't take commissions. They're very few and far between. And I know that some galleries take less than 50%. But on average, if you research this, galleries take on average 50% commissions. And that is their commission for doing the marketing and sales. Now, what I'm trying to say is, why don't you just spend the time necessary to learn those skills yourself so that in future you can take the full 100% and also learn how to increase the value of your art at the same time? So nothing to sell here. I just want to give you some guidance. If you want more information, there'll be a couple of links underneath if you want to go check out my art. And I'll be honest, I don't sell much of it on social media. I sell it via conversations and relationships. I just recently got my art in the hands of Alex Samozi, the $100 million business owner. But the nature of marketing and sales doesn't just come down to social media. It comes down to conversations and relationships. And that's really where art sales line up for most artists. It's not posting pretty pictures on social media. It's actually starting a conversation with the ideal client that you want to have. Anyway, that's a topic for another time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want more, subscribe, get those notifications, and I'll see you soon.